Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Utility Sports. And in today's mock draft video, we're going to be focusing on the New York Giants. They have 2 picks in the top 10 currently as we sit in the NFL draft order. Of course, a lot can change yet leading up to the actual NFL draft, but I think now is a great time to take a look at what maybe the New York Giants could look to do. They've had a tough season this year. Daniel Jones has had trouble in the pocket. He hasn't been protected very well at all by the quarterback or by the offensive line there. And it's tough to play the quarterback position when you are getting guys bearing down on you. Remember, if you guys do enjoy today's mock draft, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. And let's get into this here now. Looking at the New York Giants, we're going to do a 3-round mock draft. That, of course, is the standard thing we like to do on the channel for these team mocks. And for the New York Giants, you see their picks at 5 and 6 here. They have some very, very valuable assets. And off the board, we got Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, Kyle Hamilton, and George Karlaftis, which I think is an actual pretty likely scenario. I would think maybe Derek Stingley goes 4th instead of Karlaftis. But either way, we have the Giants sitting here. I think that they could use an outside edge rusher, someone who can come off the edge and get to the quarterback. But I also think the offensive line is probably the most important aspect to building up this team. Now, I'm not sure if Dave Gettleman's going to be back next year, if he's going to be the guy making the decisions along the offensive line. You do have Andrew Thomas there at least. I like him a lot. I think that he's a very, very good, strong tackle at the NFL level. But clearly, looking at this offensive line, you just don't have enough. Matt Skura, Billy Price, Will Hernandez, and then also Nate Solder there. Matt Peart as the swing tackle currently. It's just not enough. Matt Peart hasn't developed as much as I would have liked to see him develop up to this point. And I think that they need to look at that offensive tackle spot. And there's 2 really good ones here. 5th overall, you could either go with Ikem Ekwonu out of NC State or Evan Neal from Alabama. Evan Neal's the one who started much higher throughout this process. And now you see actually on the Draft Network ranking, they actually have Ikem Ekwonu as the better tackle. And maybe he's a little bit more NFL ready at this point. Ikem Ekwonu, a very good run blocker. But you're looking at Evan Neal being an extremely athletic offensive tackle. And I would just be absolutely shocked to see a team take Ikem Ekwonu over Evan Neal, kind of like how last year it was pretty clear that Penei Sewell was still going to go before Rashawn Slater, even though Slater was the more NFL-ready player. And it's shown to be that way in year 1 of their NFL careers because Rashawn Slater's been playing absolutely phenomenal at left tackle for the Los Angeles Chargers. A key part of what they've been this year is Rashawn Slater's play. And I think Evan Neal still makes more sense. So even though he's a little less NFL-ready, maybe in terms of technique, the athleticism, the long-term upside of being one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL is clearly evident there with Evan Neal. They need to take Evan Neal here. He has history of playing right tackle as well, so you can keep Andrew Thomas at left tackle, bring Evan Neal in, put him at right tackle, and you have your 2 tackles for the future. I know they're young, but you've got the pieces in place to protect Daniel Jones. And at some point, they're going to have to figure out if Daniel Jones is really the guy they need him to be. But in order to best do that, you have to make sure you're giving him a legitimate shot at that quarterback position to have some success. And so far, the Giants just have not positioned him for that. Of course, it's tough when Saquon Barkley missed a year with his injury. Then you go out and pay a big-time money for Kenny Golladay, and then your offensive line just isn't performing at a level that's requisite. Now, if you're the Giants here at 6, remember, we're back-to-back now. Ikem Ekwonu, an attractive player still at this point, very, very good. However, I don't necessarily know if I see them going with a second tackle. What I could see, though, is them eyeing up Tyler Linderbaum from the University of Iowa. The best interior offensive lineman in this class. Some would say, of course, Kenyon Green at the guard position does have a case as well. But then Tyler Linderbaum does play the center position, which is extremely important. One of the most underrated positions in all of football, in my opinion, when you just consider the fact that centers are so important in diagnosing where blitzes are coming from, making sure the offensive line is all on one page. And upgrading over Billy Price, a former first-round pick of his own right, for the Cincinnati Bengals before getting traded to the New York Giants. He just isn't that guy. Tyler Linderbaum is a massive upgrade, in my opinion, and for that reason, they are going to go Tyler Linderbaum here in this team mock draft. We're doubling up on offensive linemen. We're getting a great tackle, a great interior offensive lineman as well. And the hope is that by the end of next season, we know if Daniel Jones is for sure the guy or if they have to start doing some hunting at that quarterback position. Those 2 guys, however, are just too good to pass up on. I've also seen some really good players go off the board. David Ojabo to the Chargers. I love that fit. Jameson Williams to the Cowboys. That's absolutely terrifying. Garrett Wilson to the Chiefs as well. You guys are seeing how strong this wide receiver class is as we go through this year. And now we're at 37. And this is an interesting spot in the draft as well for me, for the New York Giants. Now, I mean, Nakobe Dean's sitting here. So that's going to be a hard thing to pass up on for the New York Giants. I do want to take a look at the wide receiver position real quick. George Pickens is here. Of course, he had to deal with an injury. John Mechie III has had a pretty good season for Alabama as well, surpassed 1,000 yards this year for the Crimson Tide. So he's an interesting name to look at. Cornerback, I don't really see this as a big need at this point of the draft. Maybe safety, however. Jordan Battle, he could make some sense just based off the injury concern with Jabril Peppers. You also look at Logan Ryan having a little bit worse of a season than many had expected for him. Maybe it's time to look at that safety spot. However, I just don't necessarily see it yet at this point of the draft. Drake Jackson, now he's a very intriguing name to me as well, and Jermaine Johnson, two guys who I see as first-round level edges here at 37. Those could be really, really good grabs at this point just based on what we see on the board. However, they did take Azeez Ojulari last year. I did really like the Azeez Ojulari pick, and for that reason, I'm going to go with Nakobe Dean. I like his athleticism. I like his thumping play style up the middle of a defense. He's a very good pickup for this New York Giants defense. We were able to go get 2 offensive linemen, come back, find a linebacker, and I'm not opposed to looking for a 3rd offensive lineman yet at this point of the draft either. If there's a good one out there that I want to take, I will consider that for sure. John Mechie goes to San Francisco. Very interesting there. Kingsley Enagbari to the Ravens. It's a very good grab for them. The Giants have a lot to work with this draft, though. We see 2 top 10 picks. That is a very rare opportunity. And then we also have 2 picks here in round 3 that we can work with. Carson Strong out here, a guy who at one point was looked at as a first-round quarterback, has had his own ups and downs and also has had a lot of knee surgeries in the past. So maybe a little concerning to NFL teams. What I do want to look at now is that wide receiver room again. Some good players out here still. Romeo Doubs is a player that sticks out to me. Justin Ross as well. But I think those are guys you can probably grab a little bit later on. Let's go look at the interior offensive line. Thayer Munford. He's an interesting pickup here as well for the New York Giants. I would not be opposed to that. He started at left guard this year for Ohio State, played a little bit of left tackle for them as well. That could be an interesting pickup. Jackson Kirkland's here too, someone who at the beginning of the process was looked at as a first-round offensive tackle. Zion Nelson could be a very athletic guard in the NFL too. I do want to go here actually with Thayer Munford. I think this is really good value. Someone who's worked at tackle a little bit, but is best suited to play left guard, which I think is a really big need here, just looking at the fact that Matt Skura is playing a lot of left guard this year for the Giants. We're remaking this offensive line as we go, and I think it's a big-time upgrade, in my opinion, looking at what we've been able to add so far. And now here at 78, I do want to look for a little bit more talent at some of these other skill positions. I think wide receiver, tight end as well could make some sense. The one guy I do want to point out here, oh, maybe he went actually at tight end. Let me see. Did he go? Trey McBride. Did he go off the board? There's Isaiah Likely. Trey McBride did go to the Chargers, unfortunately, so we can't pick him up. I thought he would be a phenomenal pickup at that tight end spot. Amari Barno here from Virginia Tech. He could make some sense. Would not hate that idea going with him. Interior defensive lineman. Not anything here that really jumps out to me for the Giants. Not really the biggest need at this point. Let's go ahead and look at the quarterback position just a little bit more if there's anything here. Bailey Zapp from Western Kentucky. He's throwing a ton of touchdowns this year, but I don't think that's necessarily the selection that they would go with at this point. Running back, I mean, Breece Hall's here. Breece Hall's a very interesting player. Son Haskins as well has had a great season for Michigan. We'll see it in the college football playoffs if he can be a difference maker for them in hopes to winning a national title. Breece Hall, though, is interesting to me just based off the injuries that Saquon Barkley sustained. Round 3, it's not too early to maybe consider a running back, kind of like what the Minnesota Vikings did. When they had Dalvin Cook, they went out and drafted Alexander Mattison, and those two players work so well together, spelling off of each other. I'm kind of falling in love with the Breece Hall idea here. Unless there's a really good edge that I want to take here, maybe a guy like Zach Harrison of Ohio State, he's pretty good. Boye Mafe as well from Minnesota, he's a very nice player. He's really progressed in his time with the Gophers under PJ Fleck. But I kind of fallen in love with this idea. I'm going to go with Breece Hall. Maybe not the most conventional selection here for the New York Giants. Maybe not what you were expecting coming onto the video. But remember, it is their 5th selection of the draft. And Breece Hall's a guy I could easily see going in round 2 just based off his athleticism, speed. He's able to hit the long ball, hit the home run shot as a runner. You use him as a spell guy to Saquon Barkley, who's had his own fair share of injuries in the past. I do think that makes a lot of sense. I actually really like that. I like Breece Hall's long-term upside. And looking at the 5 picks we made, I mean, I think we got a lot better for the New York Giants. Evan Neal, Tyler Linderbaum, 2 star offensive linemen who are going to be immediate starters day one. This is a little reminiscent of what the New York Jets did back when they drafted DeBrickashaw Ferguson and Nick Mangold in the same first round. You get your tackle, you get your center, and those two guys become paired pieces for the long term there in New York. Then 37, Nakobe Dean. This is excellent value here. He's a first-round level player. You get him 37th overall at a key positional need for the New York Giants. I think they need to find a good athletic linebacker. Nakobe Dean fits the bill and more. 70th overall, then you come back, get the New York Giants. Thayer Munford, interior offensive lineman, Ohio State. Now you have left tackle Andrew Thomas, left guard Thayer Munford, center Tyler Linderbaum. Right guard, a little up in the air right now. Will Hernandez, a former second-round pick of the Giants. He could make some sense to stay in that spot. And then you're going right tackle with Evan Neal. I mean, that's a much better offensive line for the long term. And then 78th overall, Breece Hall. Like I said, a dynamic running back, someone who can take you deep off the ground. I like that a lot for them. You need to have someone who can consistently spell and be productive. When Saquon Barkley is not in the game, that's Breece Hall out of Iowa State. I think, again, good value here, 78th overall. Wasn't planning on taking a running back, but when you have a good one available to you at a good point in the draft, you should go ahead and take one. Alexander Madison's been a worthwhile pick for the Vikings, and I think Breece Hall could be a very valuable pickup here for the New York Giants as well. Hopefully you guys did enjoy today's mock draft. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.